Hey guys, today we're going to continue with our two variable relationships. We've dealt with our least squares regression line. We've talked about correlation. Today we're going to talk about residuals. Residuals is basically, it's a value. You may have heard residual. Basically, it means kind of what's left over. That's what the definition, I think it's from Greek, is, but whatever. In most cases, your least squares regression line does not go perfectly through all of your points on our scatter plot. And so what a residual is the difference between the actual value of y and the predicted value of y. All right. So your residual is equal to actual y minus predicted y. Spelling is hard. Or if we want to get fancy, y minus, again, I'm not sure how to make the hat thing here regularly, so it's y minus y hat. All right, so that's what a residual is. It's just basically the difference from the actual value from your predicted value. Okay, so let's look at some values here, and we're unsurprisingly going to make a scatter plot. So we go stat edit. So this is going to be the relationship between a student's GPA and their ACT score. You would think that there's going to be a positive relationship, but I guess we shall see. And again, a positive relationship would mean that the higher the GPA, the higher the ACT score. Not always the case, but in general, you would think that that's going to be true. All right, let's look at our scatter plot first. I'm going to turn my stat plot on again. Let's look for GPA between 0 and 4. Let's just go 5. Go up by quarters. Our Y, 31 is our highest, so let's go 0 to 40. Let's go by 3s. All right, here's our scatter plot. It's definitely a positive relationship. Let's see how positive. Again, if I want to see those diagnostics, the correlation, words are hard. I'm going to turn those diagnostics on. Again, if for some reason my calculator here just zaps the memory every time, yours may not do that. So you might not have to turn these on every time. All right, so we got our correlation points about 0.7. All right, so it's a moderate correlation, positive. We have our equation. Our slope is 7.75, so that means for every point in GPA you get, your ACT score is going to go up by about 7 3/4 points. And our y-intercept B is negative 0.68, which means if you have a 0 GPA, you're going to get a negative 0.68 on your ACT. Now, obviously, that doesn't make any sense, so that extrapolation would not work in this case. All right, so I'm going to throw my equation in here, and I already forgot it. So 7.75 minus 0.68. So 7.75 x minus 0.68. I don't see it, which is not good. It means we probably did something wrong here. Oh, I already see it. I use a negative instead of a subtraction. Looks like a pretty good regression line. And now we got all the stuff that we've done previously. All right. Now, if I wanted to find a residual, and again, y hat is equal to 7.75x minus 0.68. All right. If I wanted to find the residual at a GPA of 3, all I would do is find the actual y at 3, and that was an ACT of 19. So actual equals 19. Predicted, our predicted is going to be plugging that in there. So we plug 3 in to our equation. So that's 7.75 times 3 minus 0.68. Which is 22. .57. All right, and then our residual is going to be y minus y hat. So that is 19 minus 22.57 equals negative. So we get negative 3.57 as our residual. All right, we can look back and let's see, that's this point, and it makes sense, right? We have a negative. This point is below our line. So every negative point should be below the line, every positive point should be above the line. So that's the way to find your residual. Now, there's some cool stuff in this calculator. If I go to stat, and if I go here, I can, if I highlight L3 and I want the residuals, I can hit second stat, and notice it has a list there, and go down to resid, and then hit enter. And this is going to give me all the residuals for our plot. Now, you have to be careful with this. If you have not calculated the slope and the y-intercept, and you have not put that equation into y1, then that is not going to work. So make sure you do that before you try to find the residual right there. Cool. All right. Now, there's something else, and that's called again, pretty easy, just some multiplication and some subtraction to find a residual. Hopefully, conceptually, that makes sense. Again, a residual is just how far away from the line of best fit it is. So our difference between the predicted value and the actual value. And that's the distance away from the line. So there's something called a residual plot, and it's pretty simple. It's just a scatter plot of the residuals, all right? And in the scatter plot, we're going to have the same x values. And now instead of y, in this case being the ACT test, y is just going to be the residuals. And again, we can do this on the calculator. This thing's amazing, yo. And all I'm going to do is now, instead of my y list being L2, I'm going to hit second step and make my y list the residuals. Okay, now notice I don't really like that. I don't want to see my equation anymore because it doesn't make sense in our context. And our window is going to need to be a little bit different. Instead of going from 0 to 40 for our y's, I don't think anything's particularly that far away. We don't really have any outliers. So I'm going to go from 0 to 10. And now we can see our residuals. Now, problem again that I just messed up. Some of our negatives are, or some of our residuals are negative. So I'm going to go from negative 10 to 10. And now this gives us a nice picture. So if you look, those points close to the x-axis are the points that are closest to our least squares regression line. The points above our x-axis are the points that our predicted value, our actual value was higher than our predicted value. And the points below our predicted value is higher than our actual value. Okay? So that's how to make a residual plot. All right, how to find a residual. Some other interesting things about a residual plot is that if there's no pattern in the residuals, the model we're using is appropriate. And we're just going to use linear regression models in this course, but there are quadratic regressions, exponential regressions, and such. But if we don't have a pattern in our residuals, and you can see these residuals are kind of all over the place, so there is no pattern, and our model is actually appropriate. If there is a pattern in the residual plot, we should choose a different model. Usually that pattern is just going to be like a perfect curve. All right, so that's how to find residuals. And I think this is long enough for now. So have a wonderful day. Do the assignment. It's going to be due on Friday.